Hi everybody, Armour Pants here, and I have the next guide for you in the Japanese line, the Tier 5, the Chi New, and we will have a complete guide for you as always. And as always, we will look at the tech spec first, complete tech spec rundown, and we will use blitzhanger.com. While we're waiting for that to load up, please, if you haven't looked at the introduction to the Japanese line, please do so. Also, if you haven't already looked at the medium tank guide, which we have on station, please look at that, because also all Japanese tanks are mediums as we move up. Now this is different to the Chi-He. In particular, it doesn't have the gun depression, the 15 degrees of gun depression that you had in the Chi-He, and therefore it plays slightly differently. It also has a bigger gun, 75mm gun, and also HE rounds are added. So it's important to load up a few HE rounds, because with a 75mm gun, they will go through light tanks and a lot of the medium tanks on the side and back, especially if you're top tier. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't used HE rounds before, HE rounds, high explosive rounds, actually do more damage, but they have less penetration, and they work by when they hit the armor, they explode. Therefore, they won't go through other objects. So a HE round explodes on impact, unlike an armor piercing or APCR round that will go through other objects, so please bear that in mind. It explodes when it hits the first object that it meets. There is a decrease in gun depression, as I said, and now it's only 10 degrees. That, by the way, is still pretty good, and you will see in the game that I use hold down tactics a lot, just peeking over little mounds and hills to put in rounds. But you don't have the 15 degrees that you had with the Chi-He, so just be aware of that. Now this tank has little or no armor, and if you get hit with HE rounds, particularly by bigger guns, you're going to really suffer. What do I mean by bigger guns? Well, now that you're in a tier 5, at some point you're going to get up tiered, and there's KV2s there is SU 100Ys, SU 100s, all with massive guns that can do huge damage to you, and you can't even be one-shotted. You have no protection, you don't even have any spaced armor, so just be aware of that. You may get some bounces in this tank, and you will see in the game I get several bounces. You'll see here, just as we look at the external modules, that the tracks are exposed, so please run 2 repair kits. That would be my advice, rather than the engine accelerator, because you do not want to get perma-tracked and stuck out in the open. So have that, run that extra repair kit. Now, as I was saying, you will get some bounces, particularly off the turret. As you can see there, the relative armor on the turret can be quite good. And the 10 degrees of gun depression does allow you to get into positions where you can fire over hills, small mounds, etc. So please try those tactics, because you'll see in the game that this is the best way to get bounces in this tank. If we look here front on, you'll see at the sides, the turret will bounce some shots for you. So therefore, if you can only expose the turret, you will get some nice bounces. And you'll actually see that in action in the game that we're going to look at. In terms of tactics, it says it's good at peekaboo, long range sniping, etc. I would run the Supercharge and Refined Gun to help you to do long range sniping and to maximize your chance of penetration. It also is relatively good at peekaboo. You'll see examples of that in the game, and as I said before, especially if you can just get that turret exposed, you will do damage and you will actually bounce some shots. If you are caught in the open on the sides or on the back of this tank, you will be penned, because it has little or no armor, and that is an issue with the Japanese tanks all the way up. As we move up to the Chi-To, the next tank in line, you will see that this becomes a problem. By the way, playing well in this tank, the Chi New, is extremely important, because effectively all the tanks after it, up until tier 8, are all the same. They're just bigger versions of this. Now, I checked the setup and I decided that we need to go left. Why? Well, I believe, looking at the setup and the tanks that are on the enemy team, that we have a chance of catching the enemy before they get into position if we move very quickly to the left, down the map, go down that heavy channel. I believe that, looking at the enemy lineup, I believe that they don't have a clear tactic to go either up the heavy channel or down the right to the right and to the light and medium tank channel on their on my right, on their left hand side of the map. So I decided, let's go hell for leather. You will see though that for a medium tank, this tank is not fast. It only does 38 kilometers an hour in a forward speed, which is very slow for a medium tank. And like all Japanese tanks, you know, it is slow and clunky, it's not agile. But nonetheless, I go as fast as I can, and here's the reward. Bam, 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 ping, 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 spot up all the enemy. Already I have Gold ribbon, massive XP for spotting up the enemy. And as I said, because they didn't have a clear tactic from their lineup, we actually caught them before they get into position, spotted them all up, and then we're able to get some shots onto them. They're all bunched up here in this lower part of the map on their right and our left. They weren't able to get into good positions. They're exposed, they're coming outside on to try to get shots onto us, etc. Now the M4 does the right thing, he tries to push up on me, he does put one round into me. So I have to address him. You can see there though the gun handling is good on this tank. The 75mm gun is decent and has good gun handling characteristics. I get another shot in on the M4 here. Nice pen, and I spot up the enemy again. And now I'm in a good position, right? I have protection on either side of me. I'm spotting up the enemy. They can't really move forward because my allies are behind me. I'm checking the mini-map. I know where they are. They're behind me. So if anybody really tries to push up on me, they're going to get exposed to several guns from our side. So I can kind of stay here and just see if I can pop my turret over and get some shots in. So this is what I meant. I'm using the 10 degrees of gun depression here. I'm just popping my turret over, rolling back as soon as I take my shots, putting in some damage, and hopefully I'm going to present very little target to the enemy, clear the stug. Already now we are only just over 2 minutes into this game, and I've already done significant damage, as you can see, and I'm really playing a great role for my team here. I'm being a good team player, spotting up the enemy, keeping them from advancing, and just putting damage in as I do so. I'm doing a lot of damage into the M8A1 here. Now this Panzer IV, he's going to try to push up. He's gotten very frustrated now. He is in this position. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be pushing up onto us. You can see there I get a bounce just by exposing the turret. And this is what I said to you during the tech spec. If you can just expose the turret, you will get some bounces. Now the Panzer IV, this is really frustration from him, because he wants to push up and he just gets caught in no man's land. I'm in cover, and you can saw there that I'm able to put a round into him, and just by exposing my turret I just get that lovely bounce from him. And he's a 75mm gun as well, so it's a very nice bounce off the turret. Again, he's out in the open, he doesn't really know what to do. He's going to push up on me now, but the problem is that he knows my guns are behind me. I'm in a really good position. I'm checking the minimap, I know where my allies are. They're going to support me, so I put a round into him, but he's going to get hit again. And now the M8A1 is there, and even though it's lower tier, has a big gun, and he knows he's going to come onto two big guns there, and he doesn't want to do that, so then he gets caught in between two mines, and then he just gets smashed by me and my ally, and he's cleared. Now we have it down to 6v4, just the M4 left, round into him, and then he's a one shot for me and for most people on my team. Just rock back and forward, and while he's preoccupied with me, my ally comes along and takes him out, and now it's game over, 6v1. And you can see that just halfway through that game, just around 3 minutes 30 seconds, we cleared almost all the enemy tanks. Just that tactic of us realizing that they don't really have a clear tactic due to their tank lineup, and any indecision that they would make, which they did, allowed us to have a significant advantage. We just were able to push onto them, spot them all up, and keep them from getting any sort of strategic advantage on the map. This is the best place to be against a KV-1, right behind it with his gun facing away from you. That is the optimal position for you if you're facing a KV-1. I do a huge amount of damage on him, but allow one of my allies to clean up, because I'm a team player and I don't really mind if somebody takes that kill. I think I've done a massive amount of damage, so I think the mastery badge is on, and it is 2.7k damage, which is pretty impressive in a tier 5 game. See there, massive carry for me, loads of XP in the spotting, loads of XP for you know, damage assistance. You can see there, if you look at the spotting, I spotted up every tank on the enemy side, I damaged every tank at the enemy side, so getting XP for Confederate play, etc. And you can see their mastery badge, high caliber, and I got the scout badge, which is really great if you are playing a medium or light tank. Getting a scout badge or patrol duty or Confederate is always a great badge to get, even better than mastery, because it shows you're really doing your job and being a team player. Now let's have a recap on the key points of this tank. This is an average tier 5 tank. Let's not make any bones about it. There's nothing spectacular about it. And it's weaker than many of its peers. You saw I did well there against the Panzer 4G, but actually this tank is not as good as the Panzer 4G. It has a good gun though, which is accurate and reliable as you saw, but the Alpha is average, you know, 160, it's very average. Use Supercharged and Refined Gun as always, you know, to get that muzzle velocity up. And that's just not my opinion, that is mathematics, using the F formula for shell penetration. 75mm gun has decent enough pen, but you will need Pramo, especially if you're up tiered. And as I said, the armor is odd. It doesn't look like it's going to bounce anything, but if you just show that turret, you will get some bounces. You'll get some nice bounces as you saw in that game. And if you angle up after you fire, you'll get even more bounces because that turret has strong relative armor if you can create acute angles on the sides. It's slow for a medium tank though. 38 kilometers an hour is really slow and it handles poorly. It feels like it's in mud or treacle all the time, so just be aware of that. Use the gun depression, just show that turret as I did in the game. That position I get into in that game with the two rubble mounds either side of me, giving me protection, allowing me to fire shots over them, just using the gun depression, not exposing the hull, is probably the optimal thing you can do in the tank like that, and it will work as you saw there. I got some really nice bounces that if I wasn't only showing the turret I wouldn't have got. Now next up is the cheat toe, but there's no hurry, take your time with this tank. As I said, the cheat toe, the next up, is really just a bigger version of this. It's just this with more hit points really. So get good with this, get proficient, and if you're good with this, then the cheat toe will be a bit easier. Not easy because it's not an easy tank to play, but a bit easier. So cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you found it useful, got some good tips. As I said, watch the Japanese tank introductory video and the medium tank guide too. And all it remains for me to say is pants off.